We are going to spend some time talking about expectations. 3 in particular that we can have that we don't know we have that really set us up for more suck and struggle. The first one is that we expect problems once solved will never reappear. The second expectation that I have and that other people have that make us suffer more. The second expectation is that resolving a problem, physical, emotional, or social, is a linear path, straight line from start to finish. And then the third thing that we do to make extra spicy trouble for ourselves is that we put a timeline on it. And I want to talk about all 3 of those things. Somebody shared this with me, Heather Leavesley, an amazing woman, and it was so helpful at understanding the process of resolution of any problem, physical, emotional, or social. So I'm going to share it with you here today. And I apologize for the light in the background. I couldn't make it better. Embracing imperfection. So over here we have point A. I'm in the problem, okay? Here is the problem A. And I want to get to B as quickly as possible so that I can resolve the problem and feel better. Problem, solution. I want to get here as quickly and efficiently and effectively as possible. That's a reasonable expectation. You're suffering. You don't want to. There's nothing wrong with having that expectation. The challenge is that it defies the universal law of life is cyclical and has a rhythm between expansion and contraction. Just look at your rib cage. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. 4 seasons: winter, summer, spring, fall. Not in that order. Winter, spring, fall. Gosh, Renee, winter, spring, summer, fall, right? It's cyclical. If you're a woman, you have a 28-day cycle. We have day, we have night. Everything is cyclical. And so the way things work when we're in the problem, moving towards solution, is that it is cyclical. And so we gain some information, we move forward, we do new things, and then we fall back. We often call this self-sabotage or a whole host of other things, but the nature of progression through resolution of a problem and post-traumatic growth, physical, emotional, social, all of it is cyclical. Sometimes we stay stuck in one cycle for a long time, sometimes with a big burst forward, and then we beat ourselves up for going backwards. What we don't see when we beat ourselves up is that it is a necessary part of resolution and movement towards B. Some people can go through it like that and be done. For some people, they stay here for years, decades even. Okay, so that expectation of it's linear and I'll get from A to B as fast as possible, you can throw that out the window, in the garbage, wherever, or hold on to it, but know that you're gonna suffer more. You can expect cyclical. Why this is important is because it does lead to the second expectation of once I've resolved a problem, I'm never gonna go back, right? So I made progress, I moved forward, I'm never gonna go backward. You will, okay? And there's a couple things about that I wanna say. When you go backwards, what happens to most people is when they're in that backwards phase of the cycle, that is our orientation. And all we do is see how bad things were, and the brain predicts, catastrophizes, and anticipates that we're going back there. So when you have a relapse or another fight with your husband or whoever, and your knee buckles again, you have another flare of your diabetes numbers, whatever it is, the brain tends to worry and catastrophize and think you're going back there. And when the brain does that, it doesn't see that you're actually forward ahead of where you were last time you cycled back. And so there's that improvement that the brain doesn't pay attention to. And what the brain then does is it says, well, that's not enough because look at how much before I'm here. But this is so important to pay attention to. And celebrate, because it actually means you're doing it right. was just talking to my sister earlier today, and I'll give you an example of emotional social pain, and then I'll give you an example of physical pain. She had another fight with her husband last night. They've been married 30 years. She said, I thought we were done with this issue, and we weren't. And so there we went in the backward cycle. And last night, what she did different is she went to this little nonviolent communication book that I gave her. And she said, I read through some of the information there and I got some ideas, and then I went back to my husband and I spoke in a different way. And I said, look, I did something that was hurtful to you, and I don't know what, and I don't know why, but it wasn't my intention. They ended up having a conversation, and even though they had the fight, they resolved it quicker, right? So she's in less emotional pain. Another example physically is somebody has a back pain flare up. And it's like, oh, here I am again. I'm gonna have back pain forever. I'm always gonna be dealing with this. And then when we're focused on that narrative, we don't see that we're actually further ahead of where we were. And we're going through the necessary process towards resolution, because each time you do a loop in a lab, you learn, you grow, you gain new skills, and you have the opportunity to celebrate what you did that time that you didn't do that time, right? And the key thing here is not to get caught up in this trap, but to notice that as you progress through things, you'll have flare-ups of whatever physical, emotional, social issue you have. But I really want to invite you to set up this expectation to look for what you did well. Look for what went right about that. Look for what was different in a way that was better than last time, because then you're reinforcing the circuits of celebration and improvement, which continues to propel you forward along, right? So somebody comes in and they have back pain again. It's never gonna get better. What they don't see is that they only had to take 2 days off work this time instead of 2 weeks. And they were still able to cook dinner even though they couldn't do laundry. Things like that. You know, I've had a lot of relationship problems and codependency and anxious attachment and all sorts of things. And I was just the other day beating myself up because I was in a relationship for a month. And I ended it because I'm like, I'm in the same anxious attachment, rescuer, codependent model. And I very quickly realized, instead of beating myself up for that, which just shoves me further back into the problem, it's like, you know what? Yeah, okay, you did it again, but this time you saw it in a month. Last time it took you 5 months. The time before that, it took you 2 years, right? So the duration is getting better. And so that leads me to the third thing. I, again, will go with the personal example. I had a timeline, expectation. I'm 44. I thought I'd be married with kids by the age of 30, because that's what all my sisters did. It didn't happen. I'm 44. I'm solo. I have a dog. I have a life I love. Things are really great. I have all the things that I thought marriage and children would bring me, but it didn't. But I found them anyway. So if we can, hold lightly the thing that we want and let go of the timeline and what it might look like, we can be more available to see that we're actually experiencing a lot of what we want, but we're just not seeing it because we're focused here and not knowing that this is the way out and through. So, expectations, recap. How to minimize your suffering. Hold loosely your timeline and desired outcome. Number 2, it's not linear. And number 3, you can expect problems to repeat and recur. And the celebration of that is that each time it comes, you reach a more advanced belt level when you go through the problem. And that means you're doing it right. Blessings to you on this journey. I look forward to traveling along with you as we navigate your inner ninja.